Where can I see if there's anyone? Can you check on your?
Twee zijn er aan het wachten. En
Oké.
ik ben er één van.
Okay, can you hear me?
Wacht. Waarom heb ik geen internet?
What? So there's 3 people.
Waarom stond mijn internet uit?
I don't know if you can hear me or if the audio needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Pam tumaka, pam tumakat. Am I saying it right? I don't know if that's the right accent. Pam tumakat? Is that how you say it? I don't know. Maybe this guy called Nilo Doñate, I don't know who he is, but maybe you can clarify.
Er zit echt een 5 seconden delay.
That's okay. Okay. So there's a 5-second delay. I'm just testing it. Pamtumakat means hello in Catalan. All right. Congrats on 1K subs. Thank you. Red Tomb. I don't know what your actual name is, but yeah. So there's a few people on the live stream, and I just want to say this is a super improvised live stream. It's the first time that I'm doing something like this. So yeah, I don't know if it's going to become a video. Depends on how useful I think it is. But basically, the idea I had was to celebrate the milestone of 1,000 subscribers by answering questions that you guys have about anything, honestly. So just feel free to ask anything in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer. Otherwise, I can just think of a story to tell. I don't know. So right now I'm doing my thesis. I think that's something that I didn't update you guys on the channel. So the last video I uploaded was the what was it? It was the video that I recorded with ETH. So I didn't film it, but it was something that I worked with a videographer at ETH. And this videographer was actually found out about me through the channel and then contacted me about it. And it's part of a series that they're doing called Student Stories. And this was the first episode, and it was really a lot of fun to be a part of it. And now I started the new semester, and I'm doing my thesis, which is the last stage of the masters. And for the thesis, I kind of wanted to do a video about this as well, but I just haven't had time to record and especially edit. Thanks for the comment, Matt, I guess is your name. Honestly, your comments are also really motivating and inspiring, and they're the reason that I do this. So thanks so much for your support. It's really, really awesome. Like I never expected to get people like you guys following along and leaving such nice comments and sending me emails with personal messages. It's really been awesome, and there's so many intangible benefits to just sharing my story out there. It's not something very hard to do per se, and something that everyone can kind of do. But I just realized I was in a privileged position being a student at ETH. But anyway, going back to my thesis. So yeah, it's something that I found in August. I was looking actively for a thesis, and I had a few options in mind. So there were 2 startups at ETH that are spin-offs from the the Robotics Systems Lab, which is the lab where the animal is being developed, this like quadruped red robot. And there's 2 startups that are super cool there. One is called Acento, which is a bipedal robot with 2 wheels. So it doesn't have legs. It has 2 legs, but it doesn't touch the ground with feet, but with wheels. So it can basically drive itself, but it can also jump to go upstairs. So that's a really cool robot. That was one option. Then there was an opportunity at Disney Research that was pretty sick as well. That was working with reinforcement learning for a secret project that I can't really share much about. They literally had me sign an NDA when I walked into the office to talk more about the project. So yeah, but I ended up choosing for the third option, which was the Autonomous River Cleanup Project at ETH, which is a super cool initiative driven entirely by students and funded by, I think, ETH in part, but also sustainability foundations, and maybe I think they have some contracts with the city of Zurich right now. And the Autonomous Cleanup Project is it's basically like a research platform that is mostly powered by students doing research projects like their semester project and master thesis, and they basically develop solutions for tackling river waste and waste in general. So they have different technology projects. So one of them is developing a system that through bubbles lifts the trash at the bottom of the river or flowing through the river to the surface, and then can kind of guide this waste to a container, which is the second technological piece. And in this conveyor and in this container, the trash gets gathered into a conveyor belt, and then the idea is that you have robotic pickers, robotic arms that pick this waste and sort it. So yeah, that's a really cool project. And then the last thing is that they monitor trash on rivers. So they're now installing a camera that looks down towards the river, and it classifies objects, and it's able to detect any kind of trash that's flowing down the river. So yeah, I decided to join the project. I had done reinforcement learning for my semester project, and this was an opportunity to apply reinforcement learning to robotic picking and sorting. So basically, I'm developing the algorithm that has to be deployed on multiple robot arms potentially, and that is able to pick trash and sort it. And of course, this can get very complex if you're dealing with like a high like a big pile of trash, and you're dealing with all kinds of categories that you have to sort. If the conveyor belt is moving really fast, potentially you could also come up with collaborative policies between the robots, which is something that humans do. And yeah, I just really love this project because it has a crazy amount of impact. Like the idea is that they develop this container stage, and then you basically ship this container anywhere in the world. There's about 180 rivers around the world that are the source of 80% of, well, I don't know if I get these numbers correctly, but there's basically a small amount of rivers that contribute to the majority of the waste that flows into the ocean. And so if you could just ship this system to all those rivers around the world and help with basically stopping the waste in its tracks before it gets to the ocean, then you're really doing something really good. And you could also use these robot arms in normal recycling plants to sort through trash, which otherwise ends up in landfills. Yeah, basically right now the cost of recycling is high enough that countries are shipping their waste to developing countries, and most of it ends up in landfills. But I think if you bring the cost down of recycling with robotics, then actually waste becomes a precious resource, because you're actually able to get something from it without much investment, right? But anyway, this was a very long chat about what I'm doing right now for my thesis. I'm really motivated. It's really, I've got some great supervisors, like the founders of the Autonomous River Cleanup Project, and a PhD at the Robotics Systems Lab, who's a reinforcement learning expert. So it's really, really cool. And I'm also working with a lot of other students that are working on the Autonomous River Cleanup, but doing slightly different projects. So for instance, there's students that are like modeling photorealistic trash. They're creating photorealistic trash models, and these models are used to create synthetic data sets, which then neural networks are trained on to do classification. And potentially these models can also be imported into my simulation training environment, where the reinforcement learning agent can train to interact with this trash on a conveyor belt, get rewarded, and then learn the optimal policy. And then this, of course, ideally has to transfer to the real world. but yeah, these models of trash are insane. And yeah, we're using NVIDIA Isaac Sim, if anyone is interested, which is a very cool photorealistic simulator with great physics. And then we're putting like a learning wrapper around it. Anyway, thanks everyone for congratulating me on 1K subs. It's honestly not it's something that we've done together. So I've basically just documented my life, and you guys seem to like it. So here we are. But so Alba is asking, like waste inceptor from the ocean cleanup. Okay, so I think I know what you mean, but not really by waste inceptor. I think I know what project you mean. The ocean cleanup is, I think, a project that was launched by someone that used to study aerospace in Delft, and it's I don't know how to describe it, but it's basically something that floats in the ocean and creates these very large structures that can filter through waste and can gather like waste. And I think it gets deployed close to these clusters of waste that float around the ocean. And but this is not the same as what we're trying to do. We're basically trying to stop the trash before it gets to the ocean, whereas the ocean cleanup project is more meant towards getting the trash out of the ocean once it's there. So yeah, there's a couple of you that have asked about what is it, about what I'm planning to do after finishing my study at ETH, my master's. And yeah, it's a good question. I'm not actually super sure about what to do after. Of course, there's many options. PhD is obviously something that comes to mind, right? But the thing is that I've noticed in my past experience with research and with working in teams that are more focused on products, on real world impact, that I enjoy being in a team a lot more and working towards something that is going to be used by a user or is going to have direct impact somewhere for someone's life. So that's why I'm leaning a bit more towards industry, and I'm leaning towards a startup. And there's plenty of startups in robotics and tech in Zurich, so there's a lot of options there. There's of course also bigger tech companies. But I'm not sure what is the right fit. It really depends on the opportunity that shows up and that I'm offered. Starting something myself, like a robotic startup, is also a cool thing, but of course is a lot more ambitious and risky, and I don't have that many savings to do that or to invest upfront. So bootstrapping something would be quite hard. But there's something called the ETH Pioneer Fellowship, where you can apply if you have a cool thesis, master thesis with a nice idea, and then you want to turn that into a business, then you can apply for the ETH Pioneer Fellowship and you can get funding, which is really nice. So that's another option. Potentially, I could also stay with ARC, right? It's a really cool project, and I think that if I develop good technology during my master's for this project of robotic waste sorting, I would be really motivated to push that further and to actually get it deployed somewhere. And yeah, that's a project that is getting significant funding, and I could also think about maybe having a position at the RSL, the Robotic Systems Lab, where I work basically as a researcher, but more applied towards one of these projects. So yeah, those are the options for when I graduate. I don't know anything for certain, so we'll see. Yeah. So someone says, I also work on generating synthetic data sets using GANs, specifically adverse weather conditions. Yeah. Is it? I wonder if that's for what application? If it's for like self-driving data sets. But I think I studied this in. I was taking a course called Deep Learning for autonomous driving, and we looked at that, like generating synthetic data sets using GANs, which is a really cool idea. So instead of just doing the typical transformations that you would do on data sets to augment them, which means you imagine you have a network. So the classic example is cats and dogs, right? A network that has to classify between cats and dogs. You can take your data sets of cats and dogs and you can augment it by doing things like cropping the images, rotating them, adding noise, changing some of the color channels a bit, doing like typical photography effects, right? That change the look of the image, but not really the semantic meaning of the image. But you can also go further and use like a network, a general artificial, generative adversarial network. That's what GAN stands for. And you can use that to do style transfer. So you can take, you've probably seen this example of that you input a picture and then it generates the same picture, but in the style of a certain painting. And you can do the same to transfer a picture of a sunny street into a street where there's rain and fog and stuff. So yeah, it's really cool. So I'm just reading the comments. Is my girlfriend watching the live stream? Yes, she's actually right behind me here. Yeah. So, so Cebola is saying that he handed in his thesis last Tuesday. Nice. Well, what are your plans? And where are you from? Like, I would love to hear a bit more about you guys as well. So I think there was another question. So Nilo was asking when 10K. Any plans for your YouTube channel? Yeah, I basically want to become the Mr. Beast of ETH. So I'm not aiming for 10K, but more like 10 million in the next year. So no, I'm kidding. I actually don't know what I don't think I have a milestone right now of how many subscribers I want to get to, because I kind of prefer to set goals that are in my control. And the number of subscribers I get is definitely not in my control. So I can set a goal of I want to make a video every month or every 2 weeks or every week. And it really depends on what I want to do, on what I feel like doing. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm not, relying on this channel doing well for surviving. So I don't have any pressure on me. Obviously, reaching this milestone means that there's demand for these kind of videos, and a lot of people want to study at ETH, or a lot of people are interested in robotics. And my videos are kind of what I want to do is I want to show the cool aspects, but not only the cool aspects, but all the behind the scenes aspects of studying at a university like ETH and doing a master's, and also the things that I'm passionate about, right? Like robotics and app development. And I have a separate music channel and a photography channel, because I don't want to put everything in the same place. But yeah, I think maybe sharing more of that could be cool. Any pack opening? Yeah. No, I don't think I'm gonna do a pack opening anytime soon. Because while I used to love playing FIFA, I haven't played in a long time. But yeah, good suggestion. I'll think about it. And see you soon, Nilo. So what is happening? So can we work in other countries, Europe, after completing? Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course you can. So if you're asking for like non-EU cases, I think in other European countries it probably. So I'm answering Shantanu, by the way. So it probably works the same as in Switzerland, where you need to get a letter basically from the company saying, which sounds a bit weird, but that they couldn't find any talent to replace you, or to like any other talent of your caliber in Europe or in the country or something. Basically saying you're irreplaceable, and that's why they need to hire someone from outside the EU, right? Which is really, it sounds a bit backwards, honestly, but that's how it is. And then they pay for your visa and or maybe they don't pay, but they grant you the visa, and then you're legally allowed to work there. So it's definitely possible if you come to study in Switzerland. Yeah, you can stay here, or you can go anywhere. Are there many Dutch people studying at ETH? Yes, 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 definitely. So there's a huge highway of messages. Messages, what am I saying? A huge highway of students between TU Delft and ETH. At least from my experience, there's at least 10 people, I would say, or around 10 people from my bachelor that I knew that came to ETH after doing their bachelor in aerospace. And there's, of course, many people from computer science and mechanical engineering that I've met that are Dutch or coming from TU Delft. So yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the things I love about Zurich, that it's super international. So yeah. And Indian students at ETH, yes, also a lot of Indian students. I actually really wanted to do some videos with friends I have from different countries, because I think if you see someone from your country at ETH, it probably gives you a lot of inspiration, right? And I know a lot of Indian students that are here, really, really smart people, and would be sick to also talk to them, because then they can also share maybe some of the struggles that I don't know about, because I'm coming from the EU. So yeah, that would be really nice. Uh, I'm thinking about applying to ETH for maths. Have you heard good things about the math department? So unfortunately, I don't think I know. I think I know two people, maybe. I don't know if they're. Yeah, I know one guy that was doing maths at ETH for the bachelor. But that's it. So I really haven't interacted with that many people doing maths at ETH. And that person was doing the maths for the bachelor, so not the masters. So maybe there's also a difference there. What I do know is that ETH is very, very theoretical. Even in computer science, the amount of theory that you get, and courses in discrete math and stuff like that, is quite high. And also, I saw that in a lot of my courses, that when you're doing robotics, you can do things like linear systems theory, which is a course that goes super in depth into proofs of linear algebra and stuff like that. And so ETH has kind of that reputation. So I assume that if you're into theoretical math and stuff like that, then it's probably really good. But I can't really share personal experience. So I think computer science at ETH. Was thinking about doing a PhD. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of how I feel, Savolar. So the thing about the PhD is that it's a huge commitment, and usually in a work contract, you don't get a minimum duration of 3 years. I think that would put a lot of people off. So the PhD is unique in that way, and yeah, I think it's not something that you have to decide right now. You can always come back to do a PhD later, potentially. So I kind of think about it like that as well. That I might want to see how companies operate in the real world, or something like that, before deciding on a PhD. I think if you do a PhD, you have to be super like, hell yeah, I want to do a PhD, not just like, oh, maybe, yeah, sounds fun, I don't know, because then those 3 years, you might get a bit of a crisis. But yeah, so there's pretty strong sun coming out. So someone, Jordi, Hardy, Marino, Mauricio. Wow, that's a long name. I guess your first name is Jordi. But you're saying you're from Peru, thinking of applying to the Masters, Science and Technology. Job market and technology policy in Zurich. I think I would need to know what kind of job you would be thinking about, because technology policy sounds quite broad. So I'm not sure if you're referring to, is it more like, would you go into consultancy? Would you go into investment? I mean, I know a couple. Wait, I'm gonna close this. So I know a couple of people that are doing investment not at ETH, in Zurich. So they're joining VCs, and they're basically analysts. And I guess as someone doing technology policy, you could be interested in doing VC, right? Investing in startups. That's cool. I mean, I think the ecosystem is amazing here, because you have a lot of startups popping up from ETH and from the University of Zurich all the time, and there's really a lot of funding. And there's at ETH, there's, for instance, the ETH Entrepreneur Club. There's the Student Project House, and there's even programs like S2S Ventures and Wingman Campus Fund, which are programs that are aimed at. So it's a VC run by students for students, right? So they basically select students that are interested in technology and investing, and then those students go out and find deals around campus, and then they sign the deals and actually invest in the startups with a small ticket price. Of course, it's not crazy $1 million investments, but it can be 20K, 40K, and so that tells you something about the startup ecosystem. That it's not only that students are coming up with startups, but students also have the opportunity to, in some cases, help find projects to invest in, and then and they get funding to do so by like bigger VCs like Wingman, and yeah. Um, I hope that was somewhat helpful, but I'm not super sure with the technology policy market. Do you accept linked requests? I don't know if you mean LinkedIn requests. Sometimes, but I usually need to have some kind of connection to the person, because otherwise I get stuff in the feed uh, that I have like very little relationship with. So I'm a bit detached from it, and yeah, it can get pretty cluttered very quickly, and then you start missing things from the people that you actually have a connection with, and so I don't accept every request. Um, so which robotics program would be better, ETH or CMU? So my friends going to USA for masters, so I'm kind of confused. Well, I've never been to CMU. I know it's a really good university for robotics. Uh, I also don't know about other things like student life at CMU and how much the tuition is. But I think at ETH, you get an incredible education for what you're paying every semester. So I think even for non-EU students, you pay about, I think I have that in one of my videos, but it's like 700 or something per semester. I mean, that's just insane. I don't think, unless you get funding in the US, there's no way that you're gonna uh, get away with an education, like a top education at that price. So that's kind of a superficial answer. Obviously, your experience at ETH doing robotics could also be super different, right? Uh, than someone that is doing the same master's program. Like you could do a semester project at lab A or lab B. You could have supervisor A, supervisor B. That could change your experience completely, right? Um, I would say you have the opportunity to do amazing things at both universities. And I wouldn't stress so much about, oh, which one is higher ranked, or which, because there's so many things that go into this, and a lot of it is what you make out of the experience and the people that you meet. And yeah, so that's kind of my answer, Alak. I hope maybe it's not satisfying. I'm not telling you which one. I chose for ETH because of the scholarship, and because it was closer to home. It was yeah, I loved Zurich. I love the city. It's like a crazy technology hub that is also surrounded by nature. I mean, I can get on a train for 1 hour and I'm like in a place that looks otherworldly, and it's just insane to have this contrast between raw nature and super high tech. Yeah, it's also like a city of 400,000 people. It's pretty small, but the amount of talent and technology that you can find here is just huge. Like you have a lot of big companies like Google, IBM, Microsoft, Meta, etc. Sony AI, that are based here in Zurich. Actually, read a statistic the other day that 1% of the population of Zurich works at Google. So Google has 4,000 employees in Zurich, and Google and Zurich has 400,000 people or inhabitants. So yeah, it's a really cool place to be, I think. And I don't know about CMU that much. So I'm currently enrolled in mechanical engineering. Can you tell us your journey? Cool question. Thanks. Um, how you learn to do it and be better at coding, programming? I have no experience doing coding. Okay, so first of all, you have no experience doing coding, no problem. I would say start today because it's like one of the highest leverage things that you can do in your life, and I think it's also super addictive and can be insane amounts of fun. It's basically like playing God. You can do whatever you can think of with code. So whether it's like simulating cool things that you think about, like, oh, I love astrophysics and I want to simulate the solar system, or I want to simulate population dynamics of certain species. And there's a super cool channel that does this on YouTube. I don't know his name though, but yeah, you can simulate whatever you want. Or I want to simulate the dynamics of a car and build my own video game. So that's one example. But then of course you can get into artificial intelligence and all kinds of fields of computer science. Maybe you're also interested in like the super low level computer science and theoretical computer science of, okay, how do you go from like the building blocks of computer science and transistors and arithmetic units to actually efficient algorithms and stuff like that. I'm not really in that field, but it's very interesting as well. And how you will get started, I would say, so there's a really cool series on YouTube about programming or computer science. It won't teach you like the practicals of programming, but it's called Crash Course Computer Science. And Crash Course is like this huge YouTube channel that has many series like geography and all kinds of other topics. But the computer science one is just insanely good. The animations are insane. It's produced super well. It's very well explained, and it builds up from like super first principles through layers of abstraction till you get to computer science today and the things you can do with it now. I would recommend that. And then to learn a programming language, I think you learn a lot by doing projects. So you would basically say like, what am I passionate about? What would I like to do? And then do it. Like really try to do it. Try to Google your way through it, and you will learn a lot. If you pick a popular programming language, so I would say Python is kind of something that you can't really go wrong because you will probably use it or see it at some point. And that one is relatively simple to grasp at first because it's more like pseudo code. It's more readable and has less syntax and complicated things like programming language like C++ or C has, where you're closer to memory and to how the internals of a computer work. So it's harder to think like that at the start. There's a course called CS50 that is open source. It's a Harvard computer science course that has been recommended to me a lot, and I would recommend that as well. But yeah, do a lot of projects. It's like language, right? You have to talk, you have to practice, you have to listen to get familiar with it. So there's also a tool that a lot of people don't know about, which I'm super surprised about, which is for students. Copilot, which is a GitHub product, is free. So you can go to github.com, Copilot, find that, or just Google Copilot, and you can use that for free. So you can download the or install the extension of Copilot on an editing software for programming like VS Code, and it's IntelliSense on steroids. So you basically can type in like comments of what you want a certain function to do, and it will give you suggestions of that whole function, not just you probably want to access this member of this class or something like that, but no, it's like super intelligent. It uses variables that you've already defined. It uses the context of the whole project, and yeah, it's just a super fast way of coding stuff, especially if you have a lot of boilerplate code or you want to learn how to do things in a new language. It's similar to what you would do on Stack Overflow, except it's right there in your IDE. So you don't need to go and Google something. You just type like, oh, I want to do this in a comment, and then it will give you a suggestion. And then if you're typing some code, it will also come up with like probable endings of the line, but not in an IntelliSense way, but also like super smart way. It will like complete strings for you. It will even write comments for you sometimes. If you write a function and then at the end of the function you write this is a function that, then most likely Copilot will actually complete that comment for you, and it's just insane. Like, oh, it's just one of the most mind-blowing pieces of technology that I've learned about in the last year, and using it has been a super big pleasure, and I will continue to do so forever. I think so. It's a new paradigm of programming, I think, and I wonder how far it's going to go. Yeah, someone's saying that they've tried that and it's amazing. So you have more than only my word. More people are saying that it's awesome. So go try it out. It's free for students, and it will blow your mind. It's one of the coolest applications of AI. And honestly, I might do a video on it, even though there's already many of them on YouTube. But yeah. So, do you know someone who has studied physics in Delft and is now studying at ETH? And if you know someone who has done that, what are they studying at ETH? No, I don't. But that's probably because there's not that many people going from physics to robotics. So I know a lot of people that come from computer science, aerospace, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, but not physics. So if they're coming from physics, they're probably going to be doing physics courses, and maybe maths. Maybe there's a few that do big switches. Or maybe quantum engineering, which is a new master, but I haven't taken any courses there, so I don't really run into these people. But I could have. I just maybe forgot, or I didn't ask. So I'm sorry, Juliet, I can't answer that. Still deciding between. Okay. So you're deciding between physics and aerospace for your bachelor. Okay, so I don't know if physics is in English, but if it isn't, which I think it was the case when I was in Delft, then aerospace is gonna be more international. So if you're into that, if you want to meet people that are way more, that come from many different places, then that would be a good choice. It's also taught in English, so I guess that's nice if you're into that. And aerospace, I think I chose it because it was more broad. So you still do a few physics classes, but they're kind of on the basic level. But then you also do some basic chemistry classes for I think it was for like battery technology. Then you do obviously physics of flight and flight dynamics and stuff like that. And you do aerodynamics, fluid dynamics, and stuff like that. So there's probably a bunch of overlap. But I chose aerospace because I also wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and aerospace touches a lot of fields. If I had to do my bachelor again, I would probably do either aerospace again or computer science. So do you have any idea about environmental engineering and ETH and job related to it in Switzerland? I'm sorry, but okay, so I have to think about this. So the thing is, I'm kind of approaching environmental engineering from robotics. So I'm in robotics, and there's a lot of labs in robotics in my track that go and do projects that are applied to the environment, right? Like the one where I'm doing my thesis, which is for waste picking and sorting. And there's many other ones, like an autonomous an autonomous excavator that can be deployed in riverbeds and stuff to help with catastrophe reliefs, or like areas where there's high chances of landslides, or risky areas for a human to be operating in. And that's where the autonomous machine would be deployed, and it can be basically controlled remotely or operate in some ways autonomously. Yeah, but I don't know that much about the environmental engineering track at ETH specifically. But honestly, in today's world where sustainability is kind of a buzzword, you can expect that pretty much whatever track you choose, either computer science or any engineering track, you will apply the stuff that you're learning to projects that are geared towards tackling sustainability issues or environmental issues. So yeah, I'm sorry. Waste to energy. Well, so there's this super cool. You just made me think of a startup that is not waste to energy. I, th- I mean, you have to look this up. I'm not sure. There probably are some startups that are doing stuff like this. I know there's one that is like transforming industrial waste into insulation material, for instance, which is super cool. So I think this startup is called FenX. You should check them out. And I think it was by some master students that were doing like material science. And then there's, for instance, people that are doing the food sciences or food technology track, and they're actually the founders of a company called Planted, which is already in pretty much every grocery store in Switzerland selling fake meat products, and it's super cool. So basically, like I said, in most tracks you will find ways or avenues in which you can apply the technology that you're learning about towards sustainability. So yeah, it's super cool. I'm really passionate about this. Okay, I think that was yeah, wait, and there was another startup that recently got like, I don't know how many million, but hundreds of millions in investment. It's called Climeworks, also a spin-off from ETH, that is doing CO2 sequestration. And I think they even had the idea of at some point like converting, maybe this was another startup, but converting captured CO2 into diamonds, like crushing, putting the CO2 through high pressure, high temperature processes and converting them to diamonds, which is insane, right? Okay. Which camera do you use? I also want to record videos about my university, but recording things in public gets a bit too awkward. Have you ever been awkward recording? How do you cope with it? Yeah, thanks. Alak, very good question. I think I should be real with this. It is awkward, and you have to bite through it. You have to be self-confident. You have to kind of live in your own world when you take out the camera and just forget that there's people around you, and just imagine that there's someone right in front of you, right? At the lens. Like when you look at the lens, you have to picture that there's a face there. Like now I'm looking at myself, I'm just looking at myself, but I'm kind of picturing you guys here in front of me. So I have a Canon R6. I'm not even using that for the live stream. It's a camera that I upgraded to after buying my first like DSLR camera, which was a lot cheaper. Like my first one was a Canon 800D, I think, which I bought for 400 with the kit lens. This one is a big upgrade, and I use it for most videos just because I have it. But honestly, if you are kind of shy about recording in public, I would just suggest that you use your phone, especially if it's a good phone, because phones are honestly getting pretty good in terms of recording quality, and it's not gonna look as professional, maybe, but especially given that the lens has a big impact. So one thing is the sensor, which is larger, but that's only going to benefit you in like low light conditions. If you have ideal light conditions, then the sensor on your phone is honestly really good as well, because you're basically like, the issue with a small sensor is that the pixels are going to be very, very small. So the number of photons that hit each pixel for a given shutter speed is lower, which means that you have to expose for longer. Otherwise, you get more noise. Okay, so that's one thing. But the main thing I think for DSLRs is that you have a lens mount, which allows you to have these super cool lenses with like a depth of field and a lot sharper than the lenses on a phone. But yeah, if you record on your phone, it's probably going to be easier because you will carry it around most of the time, and you will not look like you're the obvious blogger, right? When you pull it out, like this is very obvious. If I'm pointing this at someone, they're probably going to turn around. And some parts of my videos are done with a phone, so it's not like super obviously bad or something. Yeah. So I hope that's helpful. David, do you think you need a high knowledge of CS when you are working on hardware such as structure of a machine, mechanical system propulsion? I'm more leaning into designing stuff. No, I don't think you need like knowledge of CS when you're doing things like what you mentioned, which sounds more like mechanical engineering, like designing machines, doing structural mechanics, structural analysis, fluid dynamics, I guess, which is what you would do in mechanical system propulsion. So yeah, like the aerospace in Delft, they only have one course of Python. Maybe they're changing this, which I hope so. I mean, I love programming. I think it's very important, but maybe it's not really a requirement. So if you follow the aerospace bachelors, they only have one course on programming, which is Python, and that seems to be enough. Like for many things, you're going to be using programs that are dedicated, that have a GUI, and you don't have to write any code. You basically just have to know how to use like CATIA or other 3D modeling tools, and then analysis tools like ANSYS to analyze the structure. No, so you probably will only need to know coding to to maybe run simulations, to analyze data, and doing that with Python is quite convenient. So I would say the basics is good to know, but you don't need to know like CS, because computer science, it's really like the science of computation, and then you get into a lot of things like algorithms and low level stuff that you probably don't need. Like you, as a mechanical engineer, you probably just need to know how to use a high level programming language like Python. So yeah. Yeah, Alak, no problem. It's my pleasure. It's really great to see all of you guys showing up here and asking great questions. I had no idea I had no idea how this would go. So yeah. Can you give me some insights and advice for a long-term career? Poof, that's a tough question. I mean, I don't know. It really depends on what you see yourself doing. So Red, I guess I'll call you. If you can tell me a bit more about what makes you passionate, uh, what makes you excited, what makes you light up, then I can maybe give you some better advice. But I would say. I would say don't think too much too far ahead, right? Because some people get stuck in that loop of, oh, I'm going to be doing things now so that I benefit from them later. But honestly, if you do what you're passionate about in that moment, you're probably going to perform better, work harder, and that's going to lead to better outcomes, like better grades, better recommendations, better connections. Yeah, and you'll be a happier person as well. If you plan too far ahead, you run the risk of doing stuff that you don't love for an expected payout at some point. And then when you get to that payout, you might have switched your interests, and then it's like totally worthless. I know plenty of people that are like, oh yeah, I did my PhD, and I heard this story recently. Like they did a PhD in robotics, and then now they're doing investment banking or managing doing management at a bank, and it's like, okay, so your career can really change completely if your interest shifts, which is a very human thing. So you hope that the person doing a PhD was doing that because of out of pure passion, rather than, oh, I want to be a doctor of I want to be uh, I want to have a doctorate in robotics and be like a a super esteemed roboticist in the future, all so that they could shift their careers after. So yeah, it's I would say my super broad advice: don't focus too far ahead into the future. Maybe a couple of years, but not that much longer after that. So yeah. Okay, so okay, I was thinking about waste to energy. Yeah, I think I addressed that. Yes, I've heard about it. Yes. So Peter is asking, I'm currently studying in Delft, but want to do the Master Energy Science and Technology in Zurich. Yes, exactly. So Peter, you should talk to Shantanu, because I think you guys are maybe interested in kind of the similar topics. Energy science and technology. Do you need to sign up years in advance for a housing corporation? No, 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 no. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like in Delft with Duo, where you basically. So I'll just explain this. Maybe some of you are interested. In Delft, one sec. Uh, so in Delft, you apply for a housing corporation like Duo. It's called. Um, I'll just send it in the chat. Uh, Duo. Uh, and oh, by the way, I'll send some things that I've spoken about. Phoenix, Climeworks. I don't know. I'll remember more things. But yeah, so that you can go and search it. Yeah. What is it? Yeah, like Duo, and then you basically sign up, and then uh, they look at how many years you've been enrolled or sign up at that corporation, and then they give you priority based on that. But that's not how it works in Zurich. So in Zurich, you just have to get really lucky. You also have things that in the Netherlands they call instemmingen, which are voting sessions, where you go to a house visit, and then you go there with a lot of other candidates, and then you meet the housemates, and in the end you basically get selected. Um, Please don't delete this video. You can probably make it link only. Yeah, I'll probably keep this up for a while, and yeah, I can make it unlisted or something. We'll see. Yeah, but that's not how it works in Zurich. That you need to sign up years in advance. So I wouldn't worry about that yet, Peter. Um, can you please make a video of someone who's studying environmental? Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a good video idea. I have just like such a long list of videos that I don't know if I'm going to get through everything. To be honest, more people should be doing this to help me out, because there's so many interested students from all kinds of backgrounds. So I am an Ersti at ETH studying CS. What kind of learning schedule did you have at the beginning of your studies? How long did it take for you to figure things out? So in my bachelor, it maybe took half a year to get into a bit of a rhythm. It was kind of after the first two exam sessions. So in Delft, you have exams every quarter. Um, and then so yeah, I think the first exam session, the first quarter, I was like, how am I doing with respect to the rest of the class? I mean, I came from a public high school in Spain that wasn't very big, so I had no idea. There were people coming from all corners of the world, and people with an international baccalaureate, and I was like, okay, are these guys like much smarter? Do they have a lot more background in math? Am I like way behind? Did the first session of exams. It didn't go that well, but it went pretty well. And then I started just to get a sense of how I was doing with respect to everyone else. And at some point after the first semester, I think I was realizing that I was quite good at this. I was getting the concepts. I was motivated, and I was getting into a rhythm of okay, this is how much I need to study for an exam. I kind of realized the strategy of I think this took maybe a year or something to realize that for me what worked was to cram everything in the last minute. And yeah, it's maybe not the best way to learn in the long term, but for exams it was. So at this point I was doing the student team Talaria. You can check it out, talaria.aero. So we started this team in Delft, and I was devoting so much time in here, like 60 hours a week, but still studying full time aerospace. So I realized I didn't have that much time. I had to be super efficient, and then I really resonated with this principle of Parkinson's law of that work is going to fill the time that you allocate for it. So if I said I have an exam in the next 5 days, then I'm going to spend those 5 days really efficiently. If I started studying 2 weeks in advance, I would probably procrastinate a lot more because I would be like, oh, I have 2 weeks, so I don't really need to stress right now, and I'll just do like 1 hour of studying and 1 hour of Instagram or 1 hour of something else. So yeah, that's kind of what I figured out, that I could basically cram everything in the last minute, and I kind of estimated, okay, for every exam I need like 5 days full time really focused work, and I'll get through it. But yeah, at ETH it might be different. I think, I don't know, I'm not sure, but yeah, it takes a while to get into a rhythm, and to get the confidence of like, okay, I know I can get a 10, or I can get a very good grade if I study for this long. And then you also stop stressing so much before exams. It's really, really nice. But yeah, so brief comparison between TU Delft and ETH Zurich. So for this, I'm gonna just share the link to the video I made, because I mean, there's no way that I can get anywhere close to the amount of detail that we covered in this video. So yeah, you can check that out. Actually, let me check one thing. Is there anything? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So there's more questions coming in. Thank you for the advice, David. I'm constantly overthinking about my career, since most of our engineers in the Philippines either go to boring companies or switching careers because of low pay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Red, I don't know how old you are, if you're looking to study or if you've already graduated, or what kind of stage you are in. But that would be helpful to know. My two important tips are: try to keep up with the exercise sessions and try to cycle through the courses during the exam prep instead of focusing one at a time. Yeah. So I would agree with Similar that at DTH, I've always kept up with the exercise session. So I haven't, I've crammed the exam prep for the last days before the exam, but I've always kind of followed the courses during the semester. And yeah. But again, your strategy might be very different than mine. He has also made a comparison video 8 months ago. That's how I came along his channel. Yeah, exactly. That's the video I linked. Hello, David. Thank you for your videos, for the advice. I'm at the first semester of the robotics. Oh, well, then you should hit me up and we can meet up. So I'm, for anyone in Zurich, I'm totally down to meet you in person. I've done that quite a lot already with several subscribers that reach out to me, and I'm able to meet them, which is really satisfying, really rewarding. Parkinson's law, that feels relatable. Yeah, I think it's a really, really accurate law. So, yeah, how achievable it is to perform efficiently at the exams. Well, first of all, Theophania, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Theophania, I don't know. That's my guess. But depends what you define as efficiently, right? If you're aiming for a PhD and you're very certain about that after your master's, then you probably want to have probably an average of 5.7 to 6 out of 6. That's your GPA. The good thing, if you want to do that, right, if you really want to maximize your average grade, you can take a lot of courses and then choose the ones where you have the highest grade, and then only those will count towards your average. So that's one strategy. And then another thing is, yeah, if you don't really care about the grades, I wouldn't really invest that much time into like getting 6 out of 6 instead of 5.5 out of 5, because this is the 80-20 rule, which you can also look up. 80-20 rule, or Pareto principle. You can look this up. So 80% of the results come with 20% of the effort. That's what the rule states. Or yeah, that last 20% of the results will come with with 80% of the effort. And you can see this in a lot of things, like for instance chess or all kinds of hobbies that you try, where you initially have a very steep learning curve, right, where you make a lot of progress very quickly and then it starts to plateau. um, it works like this for a lot of things, and including exams. So I kind of prioritized having a balanced life, doing a lot of activities, meeting people, enjoying the outdoors, rather, so spending, my 80% of the time, or using this analogy, the 80% of the time more on other things, or taking more courses, or doing things like TAing, etc., rather than going all in with, like, I purely want to maximize my average grade. And how achievable, it really depends on your capabilities, your skills, how long you're willing to study for, how easy the courses are that you're choosing, because there are much harder courses than others. So if you wanted to maximize your average grade, you probably also at some point might not take the courses that you really want to take to learn about. You would take like the easier courses, and that's also not something I would recommend. You're here to learn, and in the end, when you're finding a job, what's going to matter are your skills, your connections, your projects, etc. So yeah, I hope that was somewhat useful and achievable. Again, it's very hard to say because they grade on a curve at ETH. So yeah, it really depends on how you rank with respect to the people, the rest of the people. And there's very smart people here, so it's quite hard to get sixes. 6 out of 6. They have a different grading system. So thanks for the insight. Thank you, guys. Thank you, bro, for clearing my doubts. Really grateful. Good luck for the channel and life ahead. Looking forward to meet you at ETH. Yeah, man. Look forward to meeting you here. Please hit me up if you're in Zurich. And it's really great to have spoken with so many of you. I mean, next time it would be awesome to do something like a video call, even though that would be a lot harder for you guys to tune into. But I don't know. Maybe there's an easy way to do it. But yeah, just to see your faces and to hear your voices. But this also works for now. So Red says that I'm currently a student and your videos are really inspiring and motivating me to work in space and tech. Yeah, sick. I mean, yeah, it's a really, both of those sectors are really sick. So uh, I encourage you to follow your passion, and I'm so glad that I can inspire some of you. It's so funny, right? That I'm inspired by people, and then I inspire people, and I think everyone is in this kind of place in life. Like you can always learn from someone, and you can always teach someone. We're all in this together. Nobody knows really what they're doing, but we can all learn and we can all provide advice. Uh, and yeah, I think what's nice about me, I guess, versus someone that's like, I don't know, much bigger on YouTube, or like older or more accomplished, is that I'm studying here right now. So these experiences are really fresh in my mind. Yeah. Hi, you can call me Nina. Thank you for your reply. I sent you a PM. Yeah, cool, awesome. Nina, I'll meet you then at ETH. So how precisely did the grades get rounded? It's rounded to 0.5. No, 0.25. Sorry. Yeah. So that's a quick question. When do you think is the best time to visit ETH? Well, so that depends a lot on certain things. So if you like to snowboard or to ski, then I would come maybe in the spring, like maybe February, March, and then you can combine it with a visit to the Alps to do skiing. If you prefer hiking a lot more, then I would go either right now, which is probably like the hiking season is kind of closing down soon for many people. Bye, Veer, by the way. See you around. Yeah, so I would recommend either now, right now, like in the next month or half a month. You can still do some hikes, and autumn is super beautiful right now. But otherwise, late spring and summer is really. I mean, the campus will be the most beautiful in May, May, June, July, and August, because summer. Then you can also enjoy the lake, and you can do hikes around the Alps, which are really nice. So yeah, uh, that's what I would recommend. And Juliet, if you're in Zurich, also again, let me know. I'm glad to maybe give you a little tour, or we can meet on campus. Yeah, that would be cool. Okay, what kind of music are you into? So that's a quick topic switch. As you might know, I don't know if everyone here knows it, but I love to do music production, and I love to sing. You can find me. I'll actually share. Well, so I have a YouTube channel. Actually, maybe wait. Can I tag it here? At alone. Yeah, I don't know. No. YouTube. One sec. So I'll send you the link to my YouTube channel about music, but that's I got it. I got the link. Yeah. So as you will probably see, I love pop. Pop is like my favorite genre, and I love to sing Ed Sheeran, Shawn Mendes, Charlie Puth, and Billie Eilish. Um, I actually saw Ed Sheeran and Billie Eilish at a concert in Zurich recently, and also Hans Zimmer has been like one of my biggest inspirations for music production and just music in general. And he also had a concert in Zurich, which was just insane. Yeah, one of the best experiences of live music. Um, yeah, and right now there's a lot of music going on in Zurich. There's so many musicians, so many students that love music. Like I have a friend who's this is super cool, by the way. I love to give recommendations about this, but he's a lo-fi artist that also has a music lo-fi record label, and he's doing the computer science bachelor at um, at ETH, and he also, is this a super big artist on Spotify with hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners. And so I know him, and I collaborated with him on some productions, and it's just super cool. Actually, I'm gonna release a cover of Everything I Wanted very soon, which I produced with him. So I'm really, really, really excited for that, and I'm also like, I don't know, wanting to write my own stuff with some of the musicians that are here. I sometimes go to open mics that happen in Zurich. So there's a place called Planet Five. Oh, Planet. I don't know if you're going to be able to find it. I think maybe on Google Maps. But yeah, there's open mic sessions there that are super cool. Yeah. So, do you have some good resources for starting with robotics? Oh yes, I'm really happy that you're asking about robotics, because here I can give you a lot of answers. So, okay, so where do we start? Let's see. David Silver, reinforcement learning. This is maybe not strictly robotics. It's more like, it's reinforcement learning. But this YouTube series is amazing for RL. Then for ML, I would really recommend. So the ex autopilot lead of Tesla, Andre Karpathy, who's like a beast, right? I mean, he was leading the efforts of autopilot for like 3 or 4 years now, and now he's left Tesla, and he's focused on education. And he used to teach a course on machine learning at Stanford, um, but now he has his own YouTube channel, and he's like sharing golden advice about, building neural networks from scratch with PyTorch for free. So go check out his channel; it's insane. Then for other robotics resources, I'll probably think of more later, but I would just start with those first, and that can get you already quite far. But again, robotics is a super broad topic. Um, if you're more interested in like robot dynamics, then I'm just gonna check robot dynamics ETH. this course is just super good, and I don't know if they have their no, they don't have a reader online. No. Yeah. So I mean that course is really good for the dynamics of robots and doing some basic controls. But yeah, I'll have to think a bit more about it. Thanks for the question, though. It's really I'm always happy to help, and I'm really excited about robotics. So Sebola, it's a question back to you. What do you want to do with robotics? Why do you want to learn about robotics? So the fact that you have coding experience and knowledge is definitely super useful. So you can get started very quickly. If you're working at a robotics company or you want to work with a real robot, probably learning ROS is also super useful. So I was teaching a course there at ETH about ROS, and the lectures are actually open source. But it's such a common thing that you can also learn from the tutorials on the official ROS page, etc. So ROS ETH. Let's see if I find this. Programming for robotics. Yes.
What?
I don't know if this probably won't really be super up to date because it was recorded a while ago, but could be useful. Yeah. David, do you see yourself like doing Mark Rober stuff? I want to see you do some personal project for fun. Yeah, so I don't know if Mark Rober stuff I would do because that really requires a lot of time investment, and I don't have that right now. The channel would have to be bigger, to justify that I would put, if I was getting income from this channel, then of course I would love to do that, but it's not there yet. So. But that said, I would be very, very interested in not only sharing, general student advice and student life vlogs, so to say, but also more the specific stuff that I'm interested in. And I've thought about that for a long time. If I wanted to do a video where I develop an app from scratch, or I work on some code or something. The challenge there is that I have to make it interesting, and it's tricky. But yeah, it's definitely a really good idea, and it's definitely on my mind as well. So thanks for the suggestion. So probably a longer question now, but what programming language gets used most on campus in the projects? Yeah. Definitely C++ and Python are the languages that you should know. I mean, for industry as well. If you're in tech, C++ and Python are just industry standards for robotics, especially. But not only that, if you're doing machine learning, if you're doing a lot of libraries that deal with reinforcement learning or machine learning will use these languages primarily. I haven't used other things like Julia or Rust or some of the other ones that have popped up in recent years. But yeah, you can go wrong with Python and C++. And I learned C++ quite late, actually. I learned it during my driverless year. So after graduating from my bachelor's, I did this 1 year gap year as a autonomous software lead at an autonomous driving team in Delft, where we were collaborating with MIT driverless to develop a self-driving Formula One style race car. And I learned C++ there because it was kind of needed. We had to do high performance stuff, low latency, and the code base was in part in C++. So yeah, I learned it by doing, basically. So actually I can give a very, very nice resource. I know. So this guy taught me so much about C++. And you might have come across him already. But if you want to learn C++, from the bottom up, I would suggest that you watch some of these videos, and that you then take on a project. That was by far the most useful for me to actually do something. Hey, Mattia, thanks. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, you guys are so nice. So Java and C Sharp are also pretty common. Yeah, so Java is taught in the Bachelors of Computer Science at ETH. But I spoke with a student that was doing the bachelor's recently, and she was like, "Yeah, we learned Java, but we're not really using it after that because it's not that common." I think if you're into into web app development, then JavaScript is probably a very common one to do. HTML and CSS, of course, as well. Um, Flutter is one that I use. So I'm developing web apps and apps that are cross-platform with Flutter because they are cross-platform. So I can, with the same code base, develop an app that's both for iOS, Android, and the web, and it's insane. So Flutter is like a Google SDK. Yeah, guys, please check this out. It's just insane. Flutter. Uh, yeah, actually, all these resources that I'm sharing. So I started a newsletter. But I haven't like actually gotten the engine running. Uh, but how can I? Yeah, how can I do this? Yeah, here. So yeah, so I have this place where you can sign up for a newsletter, and at some point in the future, probably not in very long, I'll probably start sending emails to the people that are already in that list of emails. Uh, and yeah, I can share. I have thought a lot about this because it's almost every week I come across something amazing, like either a GitHub repository or uh, an article or a new piece of tech that has come out or some breakthrough in AI, something that I just want to share. And yeah, if you guys are subscribed, then I can just share it with all of you, and I'm happy to do that. Um, so. Uh, Do you already work in the tech industry? Similar. Yeah. It's super cool to see you guys chatting with each other. That's awesome. I'm in my first year of bachelor's in mechatronics. What programming language will you recommend to learn first, considering I don't have prior coding experience? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it's tricky, because if you're really passionate about programming and you want to learn and you're really curious about the low level stuff, like if you're a curious person that's like, yeah, but how does this actually work under the hood, then a very common thing to do in computer science courses like CS50, I'm going to write it here again, CS50 uh, um, open, yeah, CS50 course, just search on YouTube. Like here they start with C, right? Because C is after assembly, one of the most low-level programming languages that you can have. And then if you know the basics of C, then you can maybe move to either C++ or Python. And then when you're using Python, which is a lot more abstracted, a lot more away from machine code. That's what I mean by abstracted. You will still know, oh, okay, so when I'm doing this in Python, it's probably doing this under the hood. It's creating like, oh, this kind of array, or it's allocating memory in this kind of way. And that can be very satisfying. But if you just want to do something, if you're more like a person that's not so much about, oh, I want to understand like deeply what's going on under the hood, but it's more like, oh, I want to actually build something where I want to, do a prototype. I want to build an app, do a project, get something done, then I would recommend starting with Python because you'll get up and running much faster. And with Python, you can basically do an unlimited number of things. You can write ML code, you can write web code, server side code, client side code, anything. So, yeah. So thanks for the question, Alak. You're really asking awesome questions. And honestly, you should get into coding. Oh, by the way, I didn't share the Copilot link. Copilot GitHub. I should probably also share some links to like super cool startups in Zurich. Check this out. Check the Copilot thing. It's like AI. Uh, So yeah, cool robotics startups at ETH or in Zurich. So intra, Lido, robotics. Well, ARC, kind of, yeah. What else? So, oh yeah, Cento. I'm probably forgetting a few, but those are, oh yeah, and Alterian. Alterian is basically, they're the founders of PX4, which is a super common, like autopilot flight controller for drones and stuff, UAVs. Yeah. And yeah, where I'm doing my thesis on a more sort of a cleanup project, you can learn more about that here. Doing my thesis, and the robotics systems lab. Okay, yeah. So, but what is it? So here. So Solar said he was considering the Ross workshop, but sadly didn't have time due to master thesis. Yeah, okay, I get that. Yeah. Another option to learn Ross would be to join the robotics summer school at ETH, which was also a fun experience for me. I was a TA last summer, and I did a video on it. So, been coding for almost 10 years now, bro. Cellular, you probably are a better coder than me then, because I have less experience than that. Yeah. In your undergrad, did you experience imposter syndrome? How did you overcome it? Did it come to your mind that you need to be the best in class? So yeah, I did have imposter syndrome. At first, I didn't know where I was with respect to my other classmates, and yeah, it was kind of a, yeah, I don't know. I was not very self confident at that point because I didn't have enough data to prove anything. I didn't have enough exams. I didn't know. I didn't know after the first, before the first exams, if I was gonna just completely fail or what. But it was pretty obvious that after the first couple of set of exams that I was, keeping up with the material. I was clearly understanding things, and I was getting grades that were, above average. Because what's nice at TU Delphi, you get like a histogram of grades for each exam, so you can tell like, oh, 2% of students got better grade than you, or sometimes it even tells you, for this exam you are the best student. Like, yeah, it's so you can get an idea, and then of course if you get positive data, then you also become more confident in your method of studying and preparing for exams, which is kind of nice as well. And I think, yeah, I've always been kind of a competitive person, and yeah, I wanted to be top of the class, which is something that has changed a lot. So for my bachelor, I was doing that because I wanted to get into a good master's program, but now it's shifted, right? Now I'm doing now I'm doing my master's, and what comes after the master's is maybe a PhD, but probably industry or startup. And there, I prioritize skills a lot more, right? Obviously, in your bachelor, you also have to learn, but it's not like your grades are really important in the bachelor's for getting into a good master's program. So that's why I kind of wanted to be top in the of the class, and I wasn't top of the class, and I would get really really upset about things that yeah, my mind has shifted so much, like my values and my priorities over time. But at that point I was very competitive, and I would get so upset if or I would get very competitive with some of my friends. I mean, it was a friendly competition, but yeah. I remember for my minor, I you could apply to different universities, and I applied to ETH and Princeton, and the TU Delft exchange office had to select students for each university, and for Princeton they only had 2 slots, and I didn't get in, and I was so upset. But in the end, I came to ETH for my minor, and that was like super good experience, and that probably led to me coming here for the masters. So it's kind of what I say in my ETH video, the student stories video that you might have seen, that it's not about the opportunities that you get, but what you make out of them. And a quote that I really like is that sometimes you need life to you need life to save you from what you want. So sometimes you want something, but actually then life takes a decision for you, maybe a rejection or something, and then you look back and you're very thankful that that happened. So in your undergrad, yes, no, I answered that. You could set up a Discord server with a channel containing all these resources. Yeah, that could be really cool. That's a good idea. I never really thought about setting up a Discord. It's just that I guess at my size of channel, I don't know. I didn't know if it didn't really know if this would work. But I could try it, and even if it's just a few of us, it could still be useful. Would you do a study with me video? Yeah, that could work. Yeah, I could do that here. I guess I just need to find like a setup, put the camera on a tripod and then roll the camera and then put some music from my good friend who's doing lo-fi music under it, and it would be sick. Yeah. So yes. Which matters more in resume for masters? CGPA or research and project work? I've taken mechatronics, which is a common path for engineers in India. I would say grades, you need to be like in the top 10% for good chances. Top 5% would be like you're probably gonna get in. And I would say research is not that important. I mean, I've not published anything right now yet, and I'm almost finishing my master's. So like publication is definitely not a requirement. And I got the ESOP, so that's even a higher requirement. But I had done some research, just didn't publish stuff. But I think what made me stand out was the student project that I started. So I would just do something that you're really passionate about, and then you show that you go all in and that you're very driven. Yeah, because everyone is just running behind CS, so I'm really tense to right choice in the correct path. Look, Alak, you should do what you want to do, not what others are doing. If you're passionate about mechatronics and the hype right now is computer science, don't worry about it. Like, you're probably in a good spot because there's less competition in mechatronics, and if you're really passionate about it, it's easier than to stand out, right? But if you look at your friends and you think, oh, they're doing something and I think that's super cool, that's another discussion. Then maybe you should consider trying out a bit of computer science and seeing if that's something for you. Yeah. So by the way, for those who have questions about applications, Gumroad, one sec. So I have put all my application documents online. Where is it? And you guys can download them for free. You can just, where is it? Yeah. You can use a code and then download them for free. So you can do this. And there you go. Yeah, if you want to get an idea of what my application looked like that got me into ETH and the scholarship, that might be very helpful for you to know, like, okay, where do I stand? And there's also the bundle, but that one I wanted to. It just comes with a few extra documents, but those are a bit more private, so I didn't want everyone to have access to it. So it's like I put like a bit of a price barrier there. And you have to think if you're comfortable economically, it's just a way to support the channel as well. And yeah, it could be very useful to you, but that's a decision that you have to take. Most of the documents are free, and you can just use the code YouTube and download them. Check it out. So let's see. Do you have Indian mates? Yes, man. I have a lot of actually. I have a lot of Indian mates. I like some of my best friends in the first year were from India. I was living with two, well, one guy from India, and he had a good friend that was over very often. And yeah, yeah. And there's also a lot of Indian families here. So I think there's quite a lot of Indians that study here and then stay, and then build a family here. So yeah, if one wanted to start working on smaller computational projects, do you think that playing around with an Arduino or Raspberry Pi might be a good point to start? Yeah, I think that would be sick. I've never done Arduino or well, yeah, no, but my brother has done that, and that I mean he learned a lot from that, and he's done super cool stuff at like his high school where he was like building an automated payment system for his cafeteria and stuff. So I think that would be that would be a very good way to start. So Red has to go today. Good luck with your thesis. Hoping for more subs to come. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. I mean, if feel free to refer this channel to anyone, and then more people can watch the videos, and then that gives me even more motivation to make videos. But it's already great to have so many of you supporting me and joining this live stream. Um, how many credits do you take per semester? Yeah, so one thing about ETH that I love is that I can basically choose how many credits I do per semester. So I have to graduate between 1.5 years and 3 years. So I can take it like very intense and then be done quickly, or I can take it a bit more easy and in my opinion enjoy the journey a bit more. Sorry, I'm gonna put some light in here. Yeah. Uh, and what I'm choosing to do is to take it a bit more lightly, so that I have time to do other stuff like this channel. So I'm taking on average, I would say about 20 credits per semester, but yeah, so like 15 to 20 credits in courses. But then I've done like TA shapes with which take time, and right now I'm doing my thesis, which is technically 30 credits. Um, but yeah, did my bachelor's in CS, but did a lot of projects in mechatronics. You're lucky. Akshay is asking, what's your future plan after master's? To become prof, to start a startup, to work in MNC? I don't know what MNC stands for. Management and consultancy, I guess. Um, so I don't want to become a professor. I mean, I like teaching, but I would probably take a path of doing an online course or doing teaching that has a wider reach and that is a bit less bureaucratic and tied to a university. Um, I'm not super appealed by the academic structure right now. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just a lot more satisfying to solve real world problems, to develop a product that goes into people's hands that can visibly change someone's life, than to publish a paper and um, have that in a journal. And maybe people will read it, maybe people will do something with it. Uh, it's certainly, I really respect the people doing this because they're really pushing the field forward. I just want to be closer to the customer. So I definitely see myself starting a startup in that sense. And management and consultancy, not at the moment, maybe at some point in the future. Uh, but yeah, so actually, I wanted to share something. I did a community post the other day, and so one of the startups that I'm working on right now is just a fun side project, which is an app. Uh, so gifted app, and I have this form, which is part of a user study that I'm doing, where I just want to learn about the experience that people have with gifting, and you can also sign up there for the beta testing program. So when I release the minimum viable product of the app, I can just send it out to you guys, and you guys can test it and give feedback. So yeah, it's basically an app that's designed to enrich the experience of gifting digitally. And yeah, it's basically a social gifting app that's supposed to be like an all-in-one app, a place where people can curate living wish lists. And you would have features such as being able to, of course, constantly add what you want, what you're looking for, what your wishes are to your wish list, and then people in your friends network could constantly be able to see if you're updating that wish list, would be able to make changes to your wish list. So it would be able to say, oh, I've already bought this for him. You wouldn't be able to see that, but other people would be able to see it. So not to buy a double gift, or they would be able to contribute to that gift. They would even be able to, for instance, add gifts to your wish list without you even knowing about it. So in that way, they can provide like recommendations. And there's a bunch of other super cool features that I'm thinking about, but they probably won't be in the minimum viable product. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about for my future plan. It's super nice to see you guys speaking to each other. I'm multinational company. Sorry. Yeah, also see myself in a big tech company maybe at some point, especially early in my career, to see how companies work at a scale that could be useful as a founder. And yeah, I've already worked at a startup called Verity, which is super cool. Actually, gonna send the link as well. Verity.ch, Verity.net. So they're working on live shows where I did my internship. So drones for live shows, that's how they started. But then they went into drones for warehouse automation. And it was founded by Raffaello D'Andrea, also founder of Amazon Robotics. So his company, Kiva Systems, was bought by Amazon Robotics for $775 million. So this guy's insane, and he has 2 TED Talks, so you can go check it out. Yeah. So what else is there? I'm getting lost in these messages, man. It's crazy. I wasn't expecting so many people to join. Thank you for your time and this live. Your videos are very helpful and inspiring. See you in campus. Good luck. Thank you so much, Nina. I'll see you around. Please send me a message. Can't decide between physics, engineering, or CS. How would one decide? I mean, yeah, probably thinking about your interests and that. But what about the fine details? Well, honestly, you can't make the perfect choice, right? You have to trust your gut at some point, and you have to embrace the fact that there's uncertainty in every decision you make in life. So, while I would love to tell you this is the right choice you have to make, it's very, very hard for you to make that choice, and you know what you want, supposedly. I don't even know that. I don't understand that as well as you do. So it's even harder for me. I would just say the advice that I can give to most people is, again, to not focus so much on making the best decision. I mean, yes, you have to think about it, of course, and weigh the trade-offs, but to trust your gut. And then once you've made the decision, you hone in like 100% on that decision. You don't think about, oh, what if. No, you just like, this is what I'm going for, and I'm gonna put all my resources, passion into it, and I'm gonna make the most of it. Usually, at least that for me ended up working out. So for my bachelor's, I also I had some rejections from top US universities, even though I thought I had a really good chance because I had been in a like youth science program in Spain, and I had been selected as one of the 2 students from that program to go to MIT for a summer. And yeah, I think I messed up in the SATs. My scores weren't really good, and then I didn't get into MIT for my undergrad. I did get into Imperial College, but yeah, I was choosing between Imperial and Delft, and at that point, I was like, I'm gonna go for Delft because I'm half Dutch. I've seen that place. I don't know. I just it feels more like home to me. The aerospace faculty looks really cool. I don't know what else was going through my head. Maybe the cost of living, probably Delft was cheaper. I could get some government funding. Uh, and then that's again only after my first year I realized that TU Delft had this thing called dream teams. So I'm going to send this to you. It's just amazing. It's one of my favorite things about Delft. And one of my favorite things about Delft I didn't even know about when I made the decision to go study in Delft, right? So it's again like one of those things that you can try to make the perfect decision, but you don't have perfect information. So uh, yeah, I don't know what the best website. 1 second, I'm trying to find a good link for the Dream Hall. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is so. It's a place called Dream Hall in Delft. Uh, it's super cool. I mean, you have student projects there that are developing like hydrogen powered race cars under like human powered submarines, human powered bikes that go like 140 kilometers an hour. You have like my team was trying to develop a personal flying device. Then there's this student team called Aero Delft that recently got like super. I think they got some funding or support from Airbus to develop hydrogen powered airplane. There's electric motorbikes. There's a team making rockets that are like 16 meters long, this thick. Like, can you imagine as a student working on this kind of scale of project where you're working with big companies and uh, working in large teams? Teams of like 40 people, sometimes more. The Formula Student Team Delft builds a whole electric race car from scratch every year. Yeah, it's just insane. I love dream teams, and I didn't know about this when I applied to Delft or when I got into Delft and I had to make the choice of where to go study. So yeah, very long answer. You have to trust your gut, and then once you make the decision, make the most of it. Because decisions like this are not for life either. So yeah, would you recommend getting better and more involved in programming, eventually in ML? Ah, yeah, Odin project. So Jaisal, I don't know what you mean by Odin project. Please clarify that. And yeah, as someone coming from aerospace, I learned a lot from doing. I've sent some links above, like resources for computer science. So for C++, um, for Python and C, there's the CS50 course. And then there's some other things more specific to like robotics. So reinforcement learning and machine learning. There's a course or a channel by Andrew Karpathy, the ex AI lead of or autopilot lead of Tesla. Um, and he does like live coding. I mean, that's insane, right? That you can see the ex Tesla autopilot lead doing live coding for free. I mean, I just respect him so much for that because he could be still at Tesla or any company that he'd like, getting huge compensations or yeah, and he's choosing to do this to advance the community that way uh, to teach the next generation of AI developers. Okay, wow, the questions are coming in so fast. I'm pursuing masters now from okay. Question, please. I'm a 31-year-old and I'm just in my second 4-year electrical engineering program. I'm just reading a question from Ernest Cornar. Do you think it would be a good idea to rather go into postgrad studies instead of continuing with undergrad, given my age? Well, um, I when I was doing my bachelor's in aerospace in Delft, I had a guy in my class that I actually founded this student team Talaria with, and he was 33 or something. After graduating from his bachelor's, he went straight into working at a company that's developing a flying car, like literally a car that can drive and fly, and it's like an auto gyro concept. It's called PAL V, um, PAL, PAL V, uh, and yeah, so Odin Project is a dope website. I actually have to check this, guys. So it's good that. So I shouldn't be the only one that's sharing resources. You guys are also sharing resources with me. Uh, okay, so that's for web development apparently. Yeah, I haven't checked it out, but looks good. Looks good. Um, I love what you guys are saying. Uh, So, Ernest, I want to come back to your question. So, I don't think doing an undergrad, if you're really passionate about a topic, is good. If you're getting bored and you're not learning enough, then uh, I would probably apply to master's programs directly. Um, Especially, yeah, um, if you if you feel like all the concepts that are being taught in this bachelor are very familiar to you as a computer science student, then maybe you should go for a master's program. But you can also, you know, enjoy the fact that you have an advantage, that you have, that you have more background than the other students to a internalize the concepts that you're learning about more. B, do research, like reach out to professors. If you have experience, they're going to be more than happy to work with you. So yeah, I don't know. I think both options are possible. So Rafael Andrea is the reason I got to know about ETH. Yes, he's just amazing. He's amazing, and he's got 2 TED Talks that you guys should check out for sure. They're really inspiring, and he's such a great speaker. And this really translates into his lectures, right? So I took the course he teaches at ETH is called Dynamic Programming and Optimal Control, and recursive state estimation. He also teaches, and they're both really well taught. It's hard to apply ETH Master with full studentship. I don't really know what you mean by full studentship, Tang. Please clarify that. Have you given IELTS or TOEFL? I'm actually not from Germany. I don't know where you get that from. I'm half Dutch, half Spanish, and I lived in Spain pretty much my whole high school up to the end of high school. I did 1 year in Canada as a exchange, and yeah, so I've never actually lived in Germany, but I did do the TOEFL, and yeah, I think when I applied to Delft, I had 111, and then when I did it again after my bachelor's, I had 117 for the TOEFL, and I think I used that for ETH. And I also did the GRE when I was applying for the masters at ETH and got 330 after like one try, I think. So the first try was not that good. Second try was much better, which just tells you that this exam is just super pointless and useless. And I really hate standardized tests because I mean, if you can overfit to that test, if you can get better at it, then what's the point of it, right? Like, if it's supposed to be a measure of intelligence or skill or something, then your score shouldn't vary, right? But if you can train for it, then it's kind of a biased test, and there's no real point in incentivizing students to prepare for that test rather than spending their time on something else. So yeah, it's just things you have to do. For ETH, I don't think you need the GRE, but I took it for some US universities, and I had it, so I just submitted it. Yeah, so besides focusing on a decision and learning the coding languages, is there any kind of pre-bachelor's technical course one can enlist for besides watching relevant stuff on YouTube? Um, that's, I don't know. Yeah, it's a different age. Like, I think when I was applying, when I was in high school before the bachelor's, I don't know if I was using YouTube that much for education, which now seems quite crazy, right? since there's so much material. But I think I was learning a lot from books. Remember buying a book about calculus when I was in high school that just totally blew my mind, and I learned so much from it. And I was also trying to learn about quantum mechanics and stuff, but um, I don't know. I don't have a concrete pre-bachelor's technical course. It's really, uh, I would focus on things that teach you to think and not teach you specific knowledge, because the power of being a good thinker and problem solver is just so much stronger than knowing some facts. Um, so programming is a good thing for that, because yeah, programming really will teach you some very strong analytical skills. Do you have Instagram? Can we connect with you there? Yes, I have Instagram, and so my video was actually featured on the ETH page, and I was tagged there, and I have a photography account. I'm just gonna share these things. Uh, so main IG, then photography IG. I'm just gonna link photography IG, and then the music one. I have three account. I actually have another one, which is uh, which is an image generated Instagram. So it's basically like uh, basically do I think you've probably heard about these models that generate images based on text prompts, like Midjourney, right? Uh, so I basically use Midjourney image generation. And I put this also on an Instagram account, but I'm not that active on there. Pixels of AI. Really cool though. It's really amazing what you can do. Like every single image that you see in this account is generated by AI. Like it's mind blowing how fast this field is moving. Uh, yeah, so that's super sick. Um, Please, if you contact me, just tell me that you're a subscriber or something, and I'm glad to talk. But I do get a lot of requests of messages, and sometimes, try to ask your question in a bit of a specific way, because if I have to kind of guess what you're studying, guess what you're passionate about, and I have to give you a super long story, then I'm less likely to have the time to answer, right? So, yeah. Um, Love your videos on ETH Zurich. I'm from Iraq. That's just amazing. Thanks so much for sending a message, Amir. It's just so cool. So cool that we're in this call all together here from all kinds of walks of life and different parts of the world. You visited your parents' home in Germany, so I thought you were from Germany. Yeah, man, you watch my videos. Uh, where did you see that? Did you see that in my girlfriend's channel? That could have been. So we moved from my girlfriend was moving from the Netherlands to here. She finished her Masters of Architecture at Delft, and we rented a van and went from Zurich to the Netherlands in one day, and then packed everything, went through Germany where my parents were living, and then came to Zurich and unpacked everything. And this is the new place. This is the new studio. That's where like there's music, there's a keyboard, a piano here. Yeah, so it's we're still setting up our place here a bit. Um, have you learned Deutsch? I tried to learn Deutsch while I was doing my minor here, but I learned a bit of Hochdeutsch, like level 8 2.2 or something. But then I saw that in the streets they were speaking Swiss German, and I was like, yeah, it's not really the same thing. I didn't really live with roommates that I could talk to, and for my studies I didn't need it, so I didn't prioritize it that much. So yeah, we're all the persons studying your program at ETH at least top 10% of their bachelor. What are typical attributes they have? So thanks for the question, Mikael. I wonder where you're from. Your name sounds a bit like Spanish. Would be cool if you're Spanish or yeah, Spanish speaking. So I don't know if there's a hard line, at 10%. Some universities don't even provide that information, so they wouldn't even know. Uh, but I would say that the reason that I went to ETH for my master's is that there's a very strong selection process. And so the people that you meet here are either very passionate or very skilled. Like I just noticed this, that by default, if you get into a group project with a random person, they're probably going to be like really good in robotics or computer science. They're going to be like very good at programming. They're going to be really good problem solvers. They're going to be really good at math. And you just notice this, that there's like a pace here of things because of the talent that comes here. So typical attributes, they're really smart. They're pretty good communicators. And they're passionate about what they're doing. Yes, I watched their. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Akshay follows my girlfriend on YouTube, and she did a YouTube video about our move, which I also should do. I just really have. It's been hectic these last days. Um, I want to increase the volume a bit. I think this can be a bit louder. I don't know if it's good like this. Maybe it's too loud. No idea. Uh, yeah. So a great source for photography. I did the introduction course of the photo commission and really liked it. Well, I actually haven't done a proper course, um, but I love photography. I think I would just say like get a camera, a DSLR, and do take a lot of pictures. Take this thing to a lot of places, and try. In the first year, you can already learn so much. Like you go from shooting in automatic to shooting in manual, and you learn about how to best take pictures in different scenarios, um, and you get better at like spotting things. You go around Zurich and you're like, oh, you're starting to see frames around. You're thinking about, oh, how can I position like an element in front to create depth. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And if you're interested in my photography, I put the link there. Pixels of David is my Instagram handle, and I post there a lot of stuff pretty regularly. Uh, so yeah, I also bought a drone, which is like one of the best investments I can recommend. Forgot about learning Swiss German. It's super difficult. Even the Germans can't understand us most of the time. Yeah, yeah. My girlfriend is kind of struggling with that a bit because she joined an artistic swimming club here, and yeah, that there a lot of it is in Swiss German, and she learned German in high school, but of course not with the dialect. And now, yeah, so she got a job as an architect here, and she probably will have to learn Swiss German, but not like from one day to the next. Okay, so Michael is half Spanish, half German. Cool. Ever programmed a video game? Kind of a goofy question, but I would be interested to hear. I don't think so. Maybe a very simple one. I've always had the goal of programming a chess engine that is able to beat me. So using reinforcement learning or something. That could be a really cool video for the channel, but I think it's quite hard as well. I just think I love chess, by the way. So I'm just gonna my chess.com handle is David. I love chess. So uh, I'm self-taught for photography. Yeah, yeah. I mean, self-taught. I mean, not it's not all based on exploration. It's also I watch a lot of YouTube. So photography slash videography creators that I follow uh, um, with Luke um, is one photographer. Visuals Julius, Rise the Alps. There's a lot of really good photographers that I follow on Instagram. They give me a lot of inspiration. And then on YouTube, uh, there's uh, there's a channel like Danny Gavertz. It's really good. And there's probably a bunch of others that I don't know. I think Pat K, yeah, Pat K has like super nice photography lessons. Uh, they give me a lot of inspiration. So I've linked those resources. And thanks for the compliment on the pictures. I actually have uh, some pixels of David Cameron. So I have created a collection of phone screensavers, and I am giving them away for free. Use code friends for free phone wallpapers. So they're pictures that I've taken, and I shared it on Instagram, and people wanted to have some of my pictures as wallpapers of their phone. Uh, and yeah, so I just shared this, and you might be interested. Uh, uh, Big hug to you and Daphne. What are your future plans professionally right now? Hi Bruno, thanks for joining. I kind of have answered this question already twice during the stream, but in very short, uh, I am thinking about the possibility of a PhD if it allows, if it gives me time to explore startup ideas and business opportunities, or has a strong connection to the industry. Like there's some PhDs at RSL that are doing it jointly with companies like Nvidia, which is pretty cool. And also, if a PhD has a clear application, or it requires developing technology that can be applied to a real world problem pretty directly. Um, but otherwise, joining a startup, joining a company in Zurich. But I will for sure be staying in Zurich for now. Really enjoying your videos, man. Keep it up. Oh man, it's really great to hear this feedback. Like really motivating me. I'm struggling a bit to find the time right now. Would love to have some money to be able to hire an editor. Then I would be able to just focus on recording the content and thinking about what I want to share. But now editing takes a lot of time. Um, I thought of doing MSc in robotics in Swiss Germany. Can you name some good universities? Yes. Swiss unis for robotics. For robotics master, I think there's three that come to mind. So ETH, UZH, and EPFL. I'm just saying. MSc. Well, yeah, it's definitely off topic. If I like hagelslag, yeah, I love hagelslag. As a kid, whenever I would visit the Netherlands, because I was living in Spain, but my grandparents were in the Netherlands, that would be like a thing that would bring me so much happiness. It would be like the reason to get out of bed, to have breakfast and have hagelslag. But I don't eat it that much right now. I'm not such a sweet tooth. And I love stroopwafels as well. And I think there's an untapped market for selling stroopwafels in in Zurich or outside the Netherlands. They're like a very nice cookie, Dutch cookie. Uh, definitely off topic. Um, well, this live stream has been going already for 2 hours. I can't believe it. That's amazing. Like, damn, I demolish stroopwafels on a daily basis. Yeah, I can understand. Um, they're just so good. Oh, by the way, so I wanted to share, like, I have a podcast, guys. I should have talked about this. Um, so I recently started a podcast with a friend, and it's called Before They Change the World. So basically, I was at ETH and I realized, oh, there's a crazy amount of talent and there's a crazy amount of projects going on at SPH, which is Student Project House. Um, oh, sorry, I should have not sent that. Wait, SPH. Ah, Student Project House. Student Project House. Yeah, so there's this place called Student Project House at ETH. Uh, and we thought, wow, there's so many cool projects happening here, and like, wow, we should talk to these people. We should find an excuse to talk to all these amazing rising entrepreneurs, right? My podcast about young visionaries, young startups. Yeah, so that's the podcast, um, and it's called Before They Change the World. So we're not talking only about the ideas that they have changing the world. So some of the startups are just super futuristic, right, and they're trying to tackle big problems. But it's not only about those ideas changing the world, but also about the people. There's very very driven people here, and the idea was like, okay, how many people have actually heard a podcast or a conversation with a young Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk 20 years ago? Nobody, right? So there's many podcasts that talk to all these successful people now, right? Now that they've had all this success, now that they've founded some of the big companies. But is anyone actually talking to the people like at the super early stage of their ideas or at the super early stage of their education? Where it's super interesting to see how they envision the world in the future and the ideas that they have at this stage, and maybe some of the guests that we're interviewing will actually change the world in big ways. So that's a podcast that I'm running, and yeah, it would be nice if you guys listened. Any universities in Germany for MSc robotics? Yeah, in Germany, oh, uh, there's TUM, KIT, KIT, Cal's, what is it? What's the other one? I think TUM and KIT are the ones that stand out for me, but there's probably a bunch more. I think Stuttgart is also, but again, I'm not so, I never applied to them, so uh, yeah. Yeah, thanks for saying one podcast follower more. Nice. Feel free to share this. I mean, right now we just have two pilot episodes, right? So I interviewed my co-host and he interviewed me, and we have a trailer. But now we're actually starting to ramp up the episodes and starting to reach out to more people. And just to hype you guys up, I'm gonna tell you like some of the list of episodes that we have planned, some of the people that we want to talk to, and the projects that they're doing. We have a long list. Um, so I want to talk to a friend of mine that is now working at a company called Rocket Lab. He was working at Apple Siri. He did computer science at TU Delft. And he was doing the driverless team with me. He's like younger than me, so it's crazy the stuff that he's doing. I want to speak to a girl that was like one of the early employees of a company called Planted, which is a spin-off of ETH that's doing incredibly well. I want to speak to someone that's working on a project called Athon, that's like a bachelor project from ETH that is developing a drone that can do drilling on walls and stuff. Like it attaches to a wall and can do drilling. I want to speak to a guy who he's working on a project that's going to be able to generate thumbnails and title recommendations based on AI that get more engagement with audience. I want to talk to someone that's working on a project called Ascento, it's like a robot on two wheels. The river cleanup founder, someone working at Volido, which is another drone company, someone working at Samp Lab, or another spin-off that is making AI-powered musical tools. Someone that's doing generative AI, so generating art with AI. There's so many, like the list goes on and on. There's some guy that's developing like a robotic skin that's like super thin. That's just super cool. So yeah, there's so many episodes that are gonna come. Again, I need to find the time for all of this. So I also sleep, so it's tricky. So the summer fellowship at ETH, uh, I don't know that much about it. I know that it's somehow tied to the robotic summer school that I was TAing, but I'm not really sure um, how where you apply. I mean, it's probably very easy to find this if you Google for it, but I don't know that much. I know that the people that were there were also part of the robotic summer school, I think, and then they stayed longer at ETH to do some research with the lab. So yeah, they were just like a part of the lab. If you do this, you will get a very good taste of how the lab works, what life is like in Zurich. So it's a really cool thing. I would really recommend it if you're outside of ETH and want to do research here. Yeah. And oh man, Alak, thanks so much. I really this exceeded my expectations by so much that lasted for more than 2 hours, and there's still people around here asking great questions. And uh, yeah, please reach out to me. I've linked so many things in the chat, so check it out. Check some of my social accounts and all the other resources that I've put here. Yeah, I'm really happy to have met all of you. And oh, Iris project. Yes, yes. I think that's also probably in our list. I will add it actually. Iris. Is it here? No, I will. I know. Yes, Eastling. Grasping. Iris. I will add it. I don't know anyone right now working there, but yeah, it's a good idea. I don't know if they're doing satellite or rockets, but yeah, it's a cool idea. Uh, Cool. I think I'll keep it here, even though there's still a bunch of you here. So, uh, I mean, if you have any burning questions, ask them in the next minute. But otherwise, it was super nice to be here. And yeah, I look forward to making more videos. I really like to have had an interaction that wasn't as scripted as some of the other videos, where it has to be a bit faster pace and stuff. But at least I know a bit more about you guys, and you know a bit more about me. Uh, and Yeah, have a great evening, everyone, or a great morning, depending on where you are. You inspired me to apply to my uni's foreign student team. Now I'm a member of FST Lisbon, and I just love it. Oh yeah, that's sick. Well, go check out our open source simulator, FSDS. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. So during my driverless year, I was developing this simulator. Um, might be useful if you're in driverless, but otherwise ignore it. Oh yeah, thanks so much, Veer. You were here for the whole live stream, so thank you. First overall DV Spain this year. That's great. Wow, awesome. Damn, that's amazing. Yeah, our competition was canceled because of COVID, so that's why we made this simulator so that we could do the competition online. But yeah, all right. Uh, awesome. Well, guys, I'm gonna end the live stream. It's really been amazing, and I'm really happy to just, even if I haven't seen your faces or heard your voices, it still feels like I'm a bit closer to you than when I'm just talking to a camera. So yeah, thanks a lot. Have a great evening or a great rest of the day, and I have so much appreciation for you guys. Really, thank you. Bye bye.